Hey everybody, welcome to Linux. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Drew.
Thank you.
Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Linux Cast. Apologies for last week. I had a horrendous sinus infection. It just could not handle anything. So we took the week off. I got better, thank the goodness. Oh, I still have some of the rosy cheeks. But we are going to go ahead and do a podcast because the show must go on. If you haven't noticed, Tyler is in fact not here. He's off doing whatever it is that Tyler does. So we are going to do, I'm pretty sure one of the assistants that are around me has been talking to me while I'm talking. So I appreciate that. Perils of having everybody listen. In this room, I have Apples, I have Googles, and I have Amazons, all of them listening to me all at the same time. So I am super private. They know nothing that goes on in this room. I'm just saying. I really need to pick one. So, yeah, not good. It's great. Someone create an open source one. I can get rid of all these and make it good, please. I appreciate that. Great, thanks. All right. Anyways, we are going to do a podcast, but before we jump into our main topic, which is some news, we have a couple things to do. First, we got to pimp the lug. So we're going to do this at the beginning this time. Coming up this Thursday, if you aren't going to be watching the NFL draft, you can come. Yeah, I know. Hey, you can come and mess around with us Linux nerds on a Linux user group. We do this twice a month. This is the second one of the month, therefore it's the later one. This is 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We will share the link in the Discord on Mastodon, and you guys can also catch the stream here on the channel. So if you want to come chat with a bunch of Linux nerds, you can do that. If you missed this one, we do it also the second Tuesday of every month as well. That's an early one at 11:15 p.m. Eastern. I do that every time, 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time. At least I'm consistent at making that mistake. Anyways, you can join us then. We have a good time. Usually there's about, 20 of us get in a room, nerd out about some topic or the other, and just have a good time. So definitely join if you're able. If not, again, we stream that and leave the recording up for you guys to check out at a later date. So there's the luck. There's the luck. Let's go ahead and move on into our mini topic, which is another thing we have to do before we jump into the main one. Drew, you chose this one, so you can lead us off.
So the mini topic for today is the worst tech purchase ever. So basically, if it's one of us, I mean, I can't pick Matt's, right? But my worst tech purchase ever, I wish Tyler was here because I think I've actually talked to him about this. I still have a PS5. I think it's at my son's college, but I had a PS5 and I bought one of those VR PlayStation 5 headsets, knowing how ridiculously motion sick I get. Okay. So after buying $600 and being using this headset for maybe an hour, I knew that I would never use it again because of how ridiculously motion sick I got by using the VR headset. So mine, the VR headset for PlayStation 5.
I don't know about you, Nate, but I'm astonished that Drew even tried it. Just absolutely astonished. I mean, well, I figured we'd be running screaming the other direction from anything that says VR in the name.
Bad. It was bad. It was bad. What can I tell you?
Nate, what about your worst tech purchase ever?
Oh, it's easy. I bought a Zune.
Zune wasn't that bad. Why?
No, it wasn't bad, but it just lost to everything.
That actually is a very good. I'm glad you reminded me of the Zune because it solidifies my answers. Because I had so many choices, but I think I made the classic tech error in terms of adopting a technology early and made the wrong choice. So you guys remember the HD DVD versus Blu-ray battle?
Yeah.
I made the wrong choice. And I bought a whole bunch of HD DVDs. And I still actually have a whole bucket of those. You
I
too,
still
Nate?
have a drive.
Do you?
Right back there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it's a HDD. It's a DVD drive. Maybe that's the reason why it didn't buy out, because nobody could pronounce it right.
Right? It's just too many D's in there, man. Just too many D's. But yeah, so I have like probably 40 or 50 HD DVD discs lying around here somewhere. I have a whole spindle because I had like a burner, and yeah, like half a month. See, the problem with HD DVDs is that they were backed by Sony, and we should have known that was the kiss of death. Like any physical media that Sony like backs, never going to take off mainstream. Should have known. They haven't backed a mainstream media since the cassette tape with the Walkman. So so yeah, that's bad. All right, so yeah, wasn't gonna be mine, but it's the best one actually. So there you go.
Well, technically, if you own a vehicle, that's always going to be your actual worst purchase, because it's literally just a money sink.
Yeah, but
Every time.
it will actually work until it doesn't. You know, it'll get you from point A to point
yeah.
B. Maybe. I
Yeah,
mean,
but it's always going to be your worst purchase, though.
like unless you buy a Ford, in which case maybe not.
Good luck.
I mean, it stands for Found on Road Dead. You know, we all know it. All right. So that's our little mini topic. We do that to kind of break dice, to get us back into the podcasting mojo, if you will. But now it's time to jump into our main topic, which is the news. So every once in a while, we will collect news and we will do an episode. We don't do that every week because there's not enough news every week to report on. I know somehow the Linux Experiment does a weekly news episode, which I don't know how he gets enough news to actually cover, but maybe it's just because I'm not interested in half the stuff that goes on. I'm just lame that way. But can't help it. But we've managed to put enough time in between the last news episode and this news episode, so we're going to do some news. So Nate, why don't you do your first news article?
So mine is Bethesda. This is a game, so Drew, you can kind of skip out on this one.
Yep.
But Bethesda just released their Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, and I've been watching live streams of this all day. Like, they literally just released it today. It is available also on the Steam Deck as well, so it will work with the latest Proton 9.0-4. Valve, work on your naming schemes, good lord. But it is available and it will work on the Steam Deck, so it will work on Linux. And I have been looking at it, and they have updated the graphics quite a bit, and so it's a pretty solid game. It's always been a solid game, good storyteller, if you like the Elder Scrolls series. So for me, I think it was a nice release.
I always try to figure out, do I like Skyrim better or do I like Oblivion better? I can never quite get there.
So Skyrim, the gameplay for Skyrim is better, but the storytelling on Oblivion, I think, is always better.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
To me,
I think, but I'm not sure that I stopped playing games around the time Skyrim was like popular, like like a lot of gaming. So it's possible that I just am more fond of Oblivion because of that I played it all the way through. And Skyrim I never got close to finishing. So maybe that's the reason why I remember Oblivion a little bit better. God, those were the days. Drew's like, what are these things of which you're talking? I don't even know.
Yeah, I've heard of Skyrim. I don't know that I've heard of Oblivion, but I've definitely heard of Skyrim. So
it's just the one in the
Skyrim
series
is
before.
5, Oblivion is 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And they basically remastered Oblivion, but yeah.
Yeah. It's a series that's been coming out. When was the first Elder Scrolls? It was like
1997, I think.
Yeah, it's like a long, long time ago. It's been around for a very, very long time.
I know FIFA, and I played Madden. So those are the two things I know.
And he tried a
Hey,
VR
I have a
headset
copy.
once.
And I tried a VR headset once and made me sick. So I spent $600 for the pleasure of being sick. Awesome purchase.
Hey, Drew, I just bought a CD for my Windows 98 gaming machine that is Madden 98.
Nice.
That's around the era where if you hit the truck stick instead of going, bowling over the guy, you just went through him.
Yep.
All right, Drew, your next or your first link, please.
So I have a 1A and a 1B that kind of go together basically, and they're both really tied to each other. It's on Gaming on Linux, and Basically, sorry, gaming on Linux. It's on Windows Report, and it's both have to do with Firefox, and and both of them basically are using AI to do a couple new things in their target releases. And one of them is to generate link previews. So when you are in a page and you are hovering over a link, it gives you a preview of the page after a few seconds. And you say, oh yeah, I don't want to click on that for whatever reason, and because it gives you that preview and decision at that point. The other is it is getting smarter with AI powered tab groupings. And I knew that Matt would be like at least
Ooh.
moderately interested in that particular thing. So when, with AI, obviously that's something that is on everybody's mind. We knew that Mozilla was going to get hip deep in it. I wanted to know how they were going to implement AI into their browser. And so this is kind of like the first step. And it would be, like I said, tab groupings and then this kind of link previewer. The interesting thing to me is that the AI is actually being generated locally. So when they are installing the browser, they're actually using like a W llama. So it's basically a CPP. So basically a C file that is generating the entire AI locally, and it's not going cloud-based at all, which I kind of like, because it clearly, we don't, I mean, I am all about like having locally locally sourced AI rather than have it cloud-based. So this might be something that I would consider, or you can just turn it off basically. So I'd be curious to know if you guys would ever like consider using like a previewer. Is that something that's useful to you guys? Or for you, Matt, what about this AI driven tab management system?
Oh, I like tabs.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, I think this is pretty cool. I hope Vivaldi steals it from them because I don't know that I'd go and use Firefox for it
Yeah.
because I like workspaces a lot and I prefer that kind of way of doing things. But first off, the fact that they're building in tab groups without having to enable them is cool. That's not something they really do now, at least the last time I used Firefox. And the second thing is that I like the idea of being, because the way the article describes it, I don't know if that's true or not. Given the fact that how many pop-ups this site has, I'm not sure if I can trust them or not.
Yeah.
But the way they describe it, being able to type in like a Windows discussion, it just groups everything that has to do with Windows into
Yep.
a group. That sounds really cool. Vivaldi has something manually kind of like that where you can set up a rule, kind of like an email rule, where like if you go to a site that has a certain URL, it will put it into the proper workspace every time. But you have to set up those rules manually. Having that automated would be awesome if it was good. Like,
So I read this. I read this basically. I mean, when I did my summary, it says this feature uses an AI algorithm to analyze open tabs and suggest optimal groupings and names. The users can then drag and drop tabs to create groups or rely on AI suggestions for organization. The AI evaluates tab titles and descriptions to generate meaningful group labels and recommend related tabs, making it easier for users to handle numerous open pages. So again, it does this locally too, which I find more appealing than having something that's cloud-based.
Nate, I don't think I've ever asked what browser do you actually daily
He uses
drive?
Brave, doesn't he?
I use Brave.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not even remotely interested in this at all.
You're gonna have to turn your gain down a little bit. Nate, you went way loud there for a minute.
Oh, hold on.
Not sure what happened there.
Is that
It,
better?
yeah,
Yeah.
better. Yeah, definitely. So if Brave had something like this, would you be interested in using it or no?
No, I always turn it off anyways.
Yeah.
I, I, I don't want to say that I'm like the old young man, but I kind of am in the sense that I don't really like AI constantly up in my business all the time. Every time I'm trying just to use one particular browser or if I launch an application, the only time I will say that AI is acceptable is a resolve. That's it. I don't want AI in anything else. I don't want it in Discord. I don't want it in YouTube. I don't have a use for it, to be honest.
Drew and I have been talking about this because when you did your like local stuff on your home lab, I've been using AI more and more, and it's just and so just like random things like for example, yesterday, well, I guess a couple days before I went back to my 4 monitor setup, and I was still using this monitor over here on the separate computer. I wanted to test out and see if I could finally get working the OpenSUSE net installer. I've never managed to get it to work. It can never connect to the internet, especially when you're using a Wi-Fi card. It will do fine on Ethernet sometimes, but it just half the time just doesn't work. And so what I did, I downloaded the Chat GPT app on my phone. It has a little like voice icon on it. You just tap that, and it will sit there and listen to you, and you just have a conversation with it. So every time I come to a spot where I couldn't get to work, I just said, "Hey, I need to know how to do this," and it told me how to do that. That was pretty cool. I use it mostly for tech support. Like it's just like those questions where you'd go to a forum and ask in the forum and then have to wait like 3 or 4 hours for someone to come answer your question. I just go ask the Chat GPT person that's living in my phone, and they answer the question. You know what I mean? like I don't have to wait anymore. It's the for me. I know this is completely off topic in terms of like the news article thing, but for me, the AI has just completely made forums 100% irrelevant. Like I just never going to visit a forum again because I just have this thing. It's going to help me out. And there's no assholes in that you meet in a forum, so you don't have to deal with those guys. So
You know, you can train AI to do that, though.
to be the asshole.
Yes, you can.
I missed the. I'm sorry. You can't talk about Manjaro here. I only support Arch Linux people.
Yeah, you literally can train it to do that. So if you're not careful, you'll actually make it reply back in the way that you would reply to somebody else. So
This is I'm staring down into the abyss right now. We could go on a big left turn here and go into AI, and I do not want to do that.
We should just go ahead and make that a separate episode and just talk about it.
Yeah.
We have talked about AI fairly recently, but I don't care. It's a big thing, I think.
Well, it's in everything. That's the thing. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that'd be a good topic. All right. The question I have is they're starting off on what seems like the right foot, adding useful features for Firefox with AI, like link preview. Pretty cool, right? Definitely something people will use, even if it's accidentally. You know what I mean? Like maybe they don't know it's there, but they hover over a link and it pops up. Like, oh, what's this? That's pretty cool. Now I know I can do it. I'll do it again. The tab grouping, if it's on by default, which probably is not going to. I mean, I'm assuming that it's going to be an opt-in kind of thing. But if people who use tab groups do that and it works well, my only thing is like, what if it doesn't work well? What if you're your tab hoarder and it automatically organizes your tabs, but it doesn't do a good job? So you have like 300 tabs, but you open up a new one, it gets sorted into a group that doesn't make any sense, and you have to go hunting for it. Like nightmare situation, right? Not gonna happen to everybody because most people have like 6 tabs open, but I can just see that happening. So I'm cautious optimism. And also, Vivaldi, steal this. I want the features. All right. So my first news article, and I think we'll just go ahead and start with the one where I put in the title. Arco Linux has ceased operations. Eric Dubois, who is the lead guy over there, has decided to step away, and they have decided to basically shutter the project completely. And this feels bigger than any other Arch-based distro shutting down. You know what I mean? So like when Antergos died, people were upset, but not that much. They easily moved on. Arco, I think, held a place in so many people's hearts because it was the first Arch-based distro, I think, that did more than just install Arch easier. It also did things differently. So like it offered you the option for Btrfs first. It offered you the option for all of these cool tools and programs and stuff during install, long before anybody else really did it. And it just did and add on top of that, Eric's like YouTube strategy of just publishing tutorials on literally everything, supporting every window manager, supporting every desktop environment. And it just completely, it's something that managed to infiltrate a large part of the Linux community. Before we move on, I do have to scroll back just a second. I just totally remembered. War Thunder, you left a super chat like 20 minutes ago. I apologize for that. You said thanks for the good content, and don't let the trolls get to you. Thanks, man. And then rest in peace, Arco Linux. Thanks for the super chat. Sorry, I knew I forgot something. Anyway, so what are you guys' thoughts on the whole Arco Linux thing?
I like I thought that Arco Linux has to your point, Matt, has a very special place in the Linux community. And what Eric Dubois did was kind of amazing in terms of how much, well, basically with all the different ISOs that he was actually maintaining simultaneously, not to mention there would be, if you were an Arco user and you wanted to see a process, he would upload YouTube videos like 3 a day. There was thousands and thousands of videos having to do with Arco Linux on YouTube. And it made it, if you wanted to find a process, there it was. You could find it fairly easily. I mean, the amount was amazing. It's just the pure the pure volume at which he uploaded, and all the packaging that he did. Amazing work, just purely amazing.
He's the only YouTuber I know that makes Brody Robertson look like a non-uploader. You know what I mean? Like that guy uploaded so much content. I mean, definitely had his like. I always had a problem with like his naming convention in his videos. I wish he named them better so they were easier to find. But even then, I think he like has an index on his website for if you wanted to go look things up, and that's why he named things that way. And it's kind of like Jay over at Learn Linux TV. He has a whole catalog of stuff that just goes back years, and if you need to fix something, chances are he's done something that will help. And every time there was like an Arch bug, like they killed Grub again, half the time I was using Arch at the time, like half the time I wouldn't go to the Arch wiki or the front page of archlinux.org. I'd go see his YouTube channel because chances are he showed how to fix it or how to roll it back or whatever. And it's just so good, and it's just insane. I mean, like absolutely insane. Nate, you were on Arco for quite a while, weren't you? On like a secondary
for
computer?
about 7 months.
Yeah. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on this?
I'm actually really sad because honestly, he is the one that helped me to learn Arch in general. So like following well his Arco wiki technically, and also going to his YouTube channel, like all that, I actually learned Arch through Arco Linux, and I kind of hate that it's gone away. I know that technically you could just install Arch. I've heard the same argument over and over again. I've read people on Discord. I've heard people say it online. But, the dude just put so much effort to make Arch better, in my opinion. And it's kind of sad that he's stepping away. But at the same time, he's been doing this consistent for 8 years. And after a while, you just kind of get burned out. And I can understand it.
And there's a couple of ways we can look at this because first off, we have to acknowledge that the fact that they gave a easy way to take your existing install and translate it over into Arch, the way that they did that was just, I mean, it was magic, pure awesomeness. No other distro that has gone out of business has ever done that. They just go out of business. You know what I mean? They just leave. Sometimes they don't even say goodbye. They just one day the developer is just like poof, they're gone. This was managed really, really well, and they gave a process for continuing on if you have an install of it, which is awesome. I have a feeling that a lot of the tools that they've created will carry on, with forks and stuff in the future, because that's a lot of what they did. So I think that will happen. And another thing that kind of has to be said is just that a lot of time there's usually two directions this kind of thing usually goes. Either one is the developers go poof and just leave, or they hand it off to someone else who either doesn't know what they're doing or has their own vision for the project and is finally gaining power. They either get power hungry, or they change something, or they ruin it completely. So I think that while it's sad that he is shutting it down, this may be the best solution, not to tarnish the legacy of Arco completely. So
I wanted to say one more thing about this too. I mean, he is very, I mean, of the distro maintainers out there, I don't know that there's anybody that was as big a proponent for window managers as Arco, because not only did he have all the different ones, I think he even developed Dusk. Did he not? I mean, is that something that he did himself? I can't
No,
remember.
I think that was someone else, but he brought it
Okay.
but the point stands in that even things like Dusk, which nobody uses, it was just somebody's rice, basically.
Yeah.
He just instituted it like in like half an hour or whatever, made a video about it, and all of a sudden it was there.
Yeah. Still, the
Craziness.
point is that no one really had ISOs out there with the amount of window managers that Arco did. There's just nobody that could do what he did in terms of like pushing that agenda. Most everybody else has got just regular DEs out there, and he didn't do that. You can have DEs, but as far as BSPWM and DWM and Dusk and DK window, all of these things he had.
Even like ones you've never heard of before, like it was like he had an RSS feed of window managers somewhere that just like, oh, there's a new one, let's make an ISO. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I wonder what their final count was.
Yeah,
It'd be
that's a
like,
lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
it'd be interesting. I bet you it's 30 or more. I bet you it's a huge number.
Yeah.
'Cause I think there were like 24 last time I looked. Nate, go ahead.
I think I'll just end it with this. To me, Eric is what a Linux user should be, especially a Linux maintainer. That man helped create the Arch tweaking tool, which is stinking amazing. He also, like I said, every project that he done, he explained. He gave, if there was breaks, he explained how to fix it, and he did it the right way to me. He decided he didn't want to do it anymore, so he just put it up on his website. He released a video, said, "Hey, I'm in the project. Here's how to convert it back to Arch, and we're just going to leave it as it is." And I think that's what it should do. So I'm kind of sad that Eric is stepping away, but I understand, and I hope he has a good time.
So somebody asked this question to me via email. I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't really remember what your name was, but they asked, "Do you guys think that this is going to be like the first of just many Arch-based distros that goes the way of the Dodo now that Arch is so easy to install, or do you think that there's still a place for Arch-based Linux to exist?"
I still think there's a place, because the problem with Arch is that it is so stripped down that some people don't want to spend the time to build it exactly the way they want it. So you would still have something like Manjaro or, good Lord, Garuda Linux. I can't stand that distro. Anyways, I hate it worse than Manjaro, to be honest.
Is it the colorful icons? It's the
Yes,
colorful icon, isn't
I
it?
hate that. I can't stand the dragonized whatever. Anyways, but you have, what is it, Endeavor? That's a pretty solid one. So yeah, I think there's still going to be those ones that will be there because they'll include certain things out of the box. Versus Arch, you literally have to build it from the ground up. So
Arch Labs went out the window too, fairly recently too. I thought that was a pretty good project.
I think that it probably is my overall problem with Arch-based Linux, just is because there's so many of them. It's really hard, first off, for us to keep track of them, but also they just rotate between relevance for over and over again, and it's just like Manjaro's like the one that's kind of stayed around, stuck in the limelight, and people use, right? And Garuda had, it's like, oh my god, everybody's using Garuda, and then because it had the Zen kernel and it was for gaming. Now it's Crunchy OS or whatever it is, and people are going crazy about that. Like, oh, this is really cool, and it has all these things and this and this. 6 months from now, nobody's gonna be using Crunchy OS other than the people who develop it, right? Cashy, what Crunchy? What did I call it?
Crunchy.
You can tell I don't pay attention to these things. I'm an OpenSUSE user. All right, we have one distro. It's the only thing that matters. Cashy, yeah, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. Hey, I had the
knew what
letter
he meant.
right.
I was just gonna let's see how far it went.
Drew, you're a real friend. You know that.
Well, it's like Crunchy OS. Is this like an Oreo thing, or like what is this?
Yeah.
By the way, somebody make that, please.
Yeah.
I want an Oreo OS.
All right, but anyways, you guys get the point. It's like it doesn't matter that I don't know the name. 6 months from now, it won't matter. It's weird because Debian doesn't have. I think because of Ubuntu, Debian doesn't have this problem, right? Ubuntu is going to exist for forever. Like it's probably not going to ever go away. It's based on Debian. I mean, unless something drastic happens, And Linux Mint is going to be the same thing. It's based on Ubuntu, has a Debian spin. Those things are going to be there for a long time. And they're based on Debian.
Let's
I was gonna
let's
say.
talk about that a little bit.
You think that there's a chance that Linux Mint goes
So
away?
let's talk about that a little bit because
All right.
on my next news item.
Just go ahead and
Okay,
go into it.
I don't know if it's up yet, but basically, there's an article that I put up called Linux Mint Debian Edition 7 will have OEM support, and in that tag basically says Ubuntu replacement. So I was curious. I was like, wow, what does this mean? So based on the information from the article, LMDE is set to receive a significant update with the upcoming version 7, which will include full support for OEM installations, which means that LMDE 7 will be tailored for pre-installing on computers sold worldwide, addressing a long-standing feature gap in previous versions of LMDE. The addition of OEM supports allows manufacturers and individuals who donate or sell computers to install Linux Mint Debian Edition directly on their systems, making the OS more versatile and accessible for mass deployment. Historically, we've been looking at this as a Ubuntu project as its base, and it has been good. But I'm wondering, is LMDE the way of the future for that project? If they are doing these things, setting it up for OEM, are they now thinking about, well, maybe this is the way we get on PCs worldwide?
Maybe I'm a cynic, but no. I don't think that the Linux Mint guys know what they want to do. That's the reason why they have both of them to begin with. LMD has been a backup for the entire time it's existed. It's their fallback in case Ubuntu or Canonical screws them over and does something crazy like go snap only with the kernel or something. You know what I mean? And I don't think unless Ubuntu does something crazy that they will abandon the Ubuntu base, even no matter how good the Debian edition gets. And I think that shows based on the amount of effort that sometimes. Now this is a kind of your news article is a point against what I'm trying to say, but it just feels like overall, like in the history of it, that the Ubuntu version gets more effort into it than the Debian edition. Maybe that's just because Debian doesn't update as often, and that's the reason why it feels like it doesn't get as much attention, because why would you update that more often when Debian only updates every 2 years? So maybe that's the reason why it feels like that to me. But it just, for me, it's a no, that I think that they'll have both of them until Ubuntu, does something to change that.
I have a slight different opinion of that because I have noticed that they have been recently putting more effort into the LMDE version than the actual Ubuntu version. And now they have backports readily available. You can install new kernels with the Debian version. You can get newer packages off of the Debian version as well. All this has been in the work. I think they will still have both, but I am seeing a future of them actually switching to where Debian is their mainstream and Ubuntu is just kind of there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case or not. I tend to think that they will be smart enough and kind of forward thinking that they will just decide, why do we have to use Ubuntu and strip out all of the snaps and everything when we could just use Debian edition and go from there? And not to mention have a more, now I get the fact that Ubuntu has kind of a different update cycle as opposed to LMDE. I mean, which is going to be like a 2-year project, unless they decide they're going to just go maybe use the testing branch or something else, or they're going to package their own updates intermittently, where they're going to be like kind of mirroring what Ubuntu does, but not use their packages at all.
Okay, let me ask you this question, because you guys know that my traditional opinion on Linux Mint is not all that high, and part of the biggest reason is because of this whole bifurcation of their workflow, their inability to just choose a path. And like you said, Drew, they are basically making Debian out of the Ubuntu version. The only thing that's changing is that they have the Ubuntu repositories, right? And they get the newer kernel and hardware enablement support, right? You know more about Debian than anybody I know. Is it possible to use the Ubuntu repositories inside of Debian?
No.
No. Okay. So maybe that's the reason. That has to be the reason why is they want those repositories. They want that hardware enablement to come down every 6 months or 9 months or whatever it is, and that's the reason why they do it, because but the solution there, and I'm gonna mostly steal this from Josh in the chat. It's the first thing I've ever stolen from Josh, I swear. The I think that I don't really remember everything he said, but I'm going to put my own spin on it. Is that the idea here would be, instead of using having two ISOs that's based on a different operating system, so you have Ubuntu and Debian, you just have two Debians. You have the one that's based on Debian stable or just Debian, and then you have LMDE testing. It's just literally based on the testing branch. They're basically the same thing. It's just one has the Debian repositories, one has the testing repositories. It's really not that. It's not this. This isn't rocket science, right?
There's three changes to the sources.list, and that is it. That's
right.
all.
That's all they'd have to do. And if they needed like a fourth repository of like the Linux Mint applications or whatever, that's literally just a PPA or whatever it is that they'd have to use. Or
Well,
whatever.
they can always do an automatic backports as well to any newer applications. So that's an option too. I will also say probably what has changed, because I remember in the past Linux Mint actually stated that they wouldn't switch to just Debian, but probably what has changed is Flatpaks, because now they do support Flatpaks out of the box. And because of that, you already get newer packages. So there might be a good chance that's the reason why maybe all of a sudden they changed their mind and they're like, you know what? I think we're done with Ubuntu.
I wish they'd let us know if it's in the plans. You know what I mean? Because I think for Mint users, it'd be nice to know, like, hey, even if it's like 10 years down the road, like, this is our roadmap. This is where we want to go. This is our reason for doing it the way we've done it. And instead, you have just jackasses out there like me who's just saying, why are you doing it this way? This is stupid. Why are you maintaining two operating systems? Like, you're a group of like 10 people or whatever it happens to be. Why are you putting yourself through this extra work when you don't have to? You could put that effort towards any number of other things that would be better suited, more efficient, better meant for your mental health, all that stuff. And you wouldn't have to deal with Canonical. Just go deal with the Debian guys. They're all teddy bears, you know what I mean? In comparison. So I mean, for me, that's one of the things I've always talked about with Linux Mint. It just doesn't make sense. It never has made sense to me. I mean, as a backup, if you were in real life, if you have a situation where you're going to need a backup to something, just go with the backup. If you know what I mean, if that situation is so dire with the original thing you've set your mind on that you have a backup plan, just go with the backup plan, because that's probably the better plan. Should have been the one you chose in the beginning. At least that's the way I look at it. I don't know. It's just always been really, really silly to me. So.
I saw in the chat too that's like, yeah, and to your point, Matt, where they have mentioned in the past that they would not be changing. That might have been years ago, and it might be something that they've been kind of, well, you know what, maybe we should back off that one and think a little bit more long term. And frankly, they should. I mean, I think 100% that they should. And yes, I'm a Debian shill. So do I want them to use Ubuntu? No, I would prefer if they really put their effort into making Debian more usable for people, because Debian, we all know this, is not the easiest way for a new user to start. It's just a fact. Okay. But projects like Linux Mint make these things easier for people to adopt. And that's a fact. So I would be curious if by making this kind of like move towards LMDE 7 with OEM support is maybe the first step in changing their opinion about where this project is going in the future.
Yeah, and I think I was a little unfair earlier when I said that the only reason to use Ubuntu is the repositories, because the Canonical does do a job of making that more corporate Ubuntu more corporate friendly, having a lot of the EU regulations and having it approved and stuff like that. And I don't know that a lot of that stuff carries over to Linux Mint, but if it does, at least the opportunity that is there for it to do so. Whereas with Debian and stuff like that, with the Debian edition, all that stuff would have to be worked from the scratch, and that's what this basically is a beginning of, being able to get those certifications and stuff. Because you have to have OEM support and driver support and all that stuff before you can get certified to be something like a government would use. You know what I mean? So maybe that's what they're waiting for. And that's their ultimate plan, is to ensure that not only are they, not only are the two versions equal, but also that it has the support for the enterprise, which is maybe a market that they're looking to get into. And in order to do that, they have to have the OEM stuff. They have to have the privacy and industrial certifications and stuff that Ubuntu already has. So maybe that's the reason why they need to do it. And maybe that's why it's taking so long. It's also a possibility that's the reason why they're being quiet about it, because they don't want to upset that apple cart. You know what I mean? Maybe it's in the process and they just don't want to. Maybe there's legal reasons behind it. Maybe I'm being too optimistic and they just don't like to talk, which is also a possibility. So we've went on tangents about artificial intelligence and Linux Mint, but they were
It's a good day.
They were somewhat tangentially related to the items we were discussing, so I think they did a good job. So, Nate, your last link, please.
My last one is, I do a lot of hardware stuff, and actually I released a hardware video. Finally. The audio or the audio was the video quality was terrible, but it's released. So with that being said, I wanted a good way to actually stress test any systems I get on Linux. And of course, there are some that you can do in the CLI tools that you can do. There's very few graphical tools that you can use, and I ran across this article, and I'm really excited because there is the OCCT has officially released for Linux, and that is a stress testing and hardware monitoring tool. They do comprehensive stress tests to evaluate your CPU, your GPU, your memory performance, heavy workloads, to make sure it's stability, reliable. Advanced monitoring tools get real-time insights about temperatures, voltage, power consumption, and other critical metrics. And of course, it does say it's multi-platform support, which also includes Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora, Red Hat, Arch, several. This is only the start, so they keep saying that they're going to try to work really hard to enhance the capabilities for monitoring on Linux. This has a lot to do with the Steam Deck itself, because a lot of gamers are moving towards Linux. And one of the things they are trying to work on is a highly anticipated SSD testing feature. So you'll be able to actually stress your SSD to see exactly what it can do. So I'm really excited. For me, for what I do, some of my workflow, I'm excited to have finally something on Linux that is a graphical interface, and you can actually stress test your system, see what it does, see how well it performs. And I just think it would be a great thing.
It is nice that there's finally a GUI for something like this, because using terminal tools isn't something that most people are, interested in. Another small tangent. I was just reminded of that because I was talking to somebody in the Discord the other day that we were talking about why Linux doesn't have a tool to allow animated backgrounds. I was like, oh, it does. It's SWWW. And they're like, oh, there's no GUI for that. I go, yeah, there's not. It's a terminal only tool, and that's just not something that appeals to a lot of people. And as a certified Linux nerd, by the way, can't tell you how many times this has come in handy. I just forget that not everyone wants to dive deep into a terminal. So having a tool to stress test your stuff, I think, is is awesome. Also, that it works for multiple distros. Usually, when this type of stuff comes out, it's like, oh, it's Ubuntu only, or CentOS only, or something like that. The fact that they've made it work across distros, pretty freaking cool. Anything to say on this, Drew?
No.
All right. Drew says, we're in Debian. We don't need stressing. We're just chill. All right. So Ubuntu has got a lot of FaceTime on our episode today. We're going to talk a little bit about 2504, which is now out. It's called Plucky Puffin, which is eventually they're going to run out of names, right? I mean, Groovy Gorilla was like peak name, and then after that, just downhill. But anyway, so this is their latest short-term release. This is a one that usually is like very testing focused with new features, and I know that the Linux Experiment said this was bigger than he thought it was going to be. So they have several brand new things. So they have new ARM64 ISOs. They have a big UX uplift cursive GNOME 48, so they got the brand new version of GNOME, better HDR support, the well-being controls, which is a feature which is so weird for a Linux thing to have, but okay. Grouped notifications, which is also kind of depends on where you're at, cool, I guess. And then they have some other stuff like the latest kernel, the latest Mesa graphics support stack, and a whole bunch of other like features. So the latest Ubuntu is out. The question I have is, do you guys really care? Because this, like, Ubuntu used to be like a big deal. Like every time the mid updates came through, the mid-tier updates came through, and the LTS came through, like, oh buddy, oh my goodness, the latest version of Ubuntu came out. And maybe part of that is because you had to go to the store to get the CDs in order to install it. But nowadays, just like, I don't care. Oh, it has the latest kernel. That's great. Next. I mean, maybe you guys are like me, is just getting older. You've used Linux for quite a long time now, and updates just aren't as wow as they used to be. Like, oh,
I think that's exactly right.
Here's an update. It's great. Even if you're in like a rolling release, like I'm on a rolling release. I had 700 updates yesterday. That was just a time sink for me. Like I had to do it. It was a chore. It was no like I don't even know what was in the update. That's how like I don't care. Like it's just an update.
I think for me, it's the fact that they really don't care about their desktop. They're making their money off of servers. They're pushing for servers. That's their main focus of servers. So I could care less about Ubuntu desktop, to be honest. For me, I like the way Pop! OS does it. It grabs the Ubuntu kernel, makes some very important tweaks to make hardware work, and gives you a nice interface. That's all I really care about.
I guess when it's every 6 months too, it just seems like, oh yeah, 6 months is over. Nice. Okay. Good for you.
It's like a mark on the calendar that just like is like a day that happens.
Yeah.
I know why Drew uses Debian, because it's only 2 years. So then he doesn't have to worry about the fact that he's getting 6 months older every time. It's just, oh, well, it's been 2 years. Okay.
Oh, no. Now we're talking about psychology now. Holy crap.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's getting deep. All right.
Don't get me wrong. I don't get me wrong. I've already been planning to try to leave my job, and it's been 7 months now, and I'm still at the same job, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Like I'm as the only rolling release guy on the podcast, I can say that. So I used Bluefin for quite a while, and one of the things that I really like about it is they just did the updates in the background. Like I never touched the damn update mechanism. It just did it in the background. Every once in a while, I'd restart, and all of a sudden, I'd have the newest kernel, a newer kernel, and my Flatpaks would be updated. There was a time, not even that long ago, when that would have drove me freaking batty, because I want to know exactly what's updating. If something goes wrong, I want to know about it. I want to all this stuff. Now, I'm beginning to think, as I just passed 40 years old. I no longer care. I just want it to be done in the background, and it feels like that type of thing is going to be more and more something that I'm interested in. Like the other day when I had those 700 updates, I was like, it's been a week since I updated, and I got to do the 700 updates. All I have, I don't want to do this anymore. I just why aren't these things already done? Like it could have just already been done in the background, and I wouldn't have known about it.
Does OpenSUSE not have an automatic update button?
maybe in a desktop environment, not in a window manager.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's just in the settings in Pop! OS, regardless of what you're trying to run.
Yeah, I don't know if GNOME or Plasma have that built in OpenSUSE. I doubt it, but maybe. Like I think this because they use Discover and GNOME software, so I think that's manual.
What are you using for? Are you using Window Manager right now, or
Hyperland, yeah.
oh, Hyperlane? Okay.
Yeah, so I do all my stuff in the terminal. I'm a Linux nerd. I'm certified, but I've lost interest in like now.
Shop
It's
the
just,
Linux cast. See Matt's see Matt's hat right now, friends.
yeah. Is it just? So someone says, Matt, you're pimping the store too often. That it's getting annoying. It's just become habit now that every time I say that, hey, you gotta go to the store. I'm Linus Sebastian. Yeah. He's got the hat too. It's great. Drew's like, mine's not in reach. Hey, you want to what? Mine's always here. All right. So, anyways, that is the news. I think we did damn good, fellas. Very good conversation, but it is over now. Yeah, well, it wasn't. Hey, you know what? It could have been worse.
Well, if we had just reported the news and not gone on rants, this would have been a 5-minute podcast.
I know. We just would have read the articles out, and that was it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Verbatim. All right, we did a good job, so I think we should reward ourselves with some Nuggies. So the Nuggies of the week are here. We are going to talk about the things that we've found over the course of the last couple weeks or so. These can be tips, tricks, apps, whatever we like to share, just general things that we want to share with you guys. So, Nate, I hear.
Yeah, this is. I've been waiting. I've been waiting days for this.
I hear that I love Vim. Is this hat in your future?
No.
Oh,
I will not wear the hat, but
I will send you one if you'll wear
it. I'll wear it in the next podcast. I don't care. No, I have, and Tyler, to his credit, told me this years ago. I think 2 years ago. He said once it finally clicks with you, it will make so much more sense and it becomes easier. And the last week, I just sat down for days and just watched video after video after video after video, doing things over and over and over again. And yes, I am now a 100% a Vim user, and I love it. I can't get away from it. It makes so much more sense to me, and I still use micro for like very small, minute changes because I don't want to open Vim every single time. But for like my actual scripting and anything, any notes or anything, as a matter of fact, I actually installed Drew's, it's not your script, but the program you mentioned about MD Markdown files.
The plugin for
yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I actually installed that one, and I've been using it, and I love it because it also syncs to my Notes Nook program because it's an MD file, and I can set it up in my notes, but I can do everything in Vim. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. It's like a new chapter in my life. I feel good.
I'm so proud.
I'm a Linux user now.
He broke his cherry. It's so good. I think that I have a question for you, Nate. Have you gotten into? So, are you using regular Vim or are you using NeoVim?
No, I'm just using regular Vim right now. I'll eventually probably get into NeoVim, but I really like the key bindings of just regular Vim itself.
Yeah, definitely check out the Kickstarter that they done for NeoVim if you ever get into it. It's really, really good. It's just a great place to start. Another thing is for people who are just getting started with Vim, and this was my experience, the Primogen, or however you say his name, is a really bad example of what a Vim user is because he's just so fucking good at Vim, and you watch it like, oh my god, I'm never going to be that good. Like, I've been using Vim now for 10 years. I am a fucking noob compared to that guy. And every time I watch one of his videos, he does the coding videos, like he's Vim like boo do 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 do, and I'm like, like he's just using macros left, right, and center. He's got all the Vim motions down, so they're like one button press, and it's just like, you're a wizard, dude. Don't make the rest of us look bad. You know, and it's just, and there's a lot of like the Vim guys are out there who make YouTube videos are like that, and watching those guys is a it's not good for your self-esteem when it comes to using Vim, because you're just not going to get that way for a very, very long time. And like, it's
I
just,
mean, they're developers too. I mean,
yeah,
there's a different, it's a different
yeah,
skill set. Yeah.
You want to know
but
how much?
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna keep carrying on. So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you want to know how much I actually love Vim now? I actually uninstalled Nano because I don't need it.
Oh, wow. All right.
Poor Nano. We hardly knew he. Did you guys know, just trivia fact, that a lot of distros don't even have Nano installed? They just symlink it to a thing called Pika. It's just a symlink to Pika. Yeah. So Nano, not actually a thing. It is in fact a fake. It's a fake text editor. It doesn't even exist. I've had a thing today. Sorry. All right, Drew, your Nuggie of the week.
Well, I'm going to go a little twofer here because Nate, about 2 weeks ago, maybe, he was talking about Awesome WM when we were having this like mini discussion about which window manager we would use if we were on a desert island. We could only use one. Nate went with Awesome WM. I spent a long time on developing my Awesome WM script and really kind of like modularized the configuration files. And I put that out this past week. And thank you for those of you that have watched that stream. Anyway, my Nuggie of the week also though is, and this is, I didn't realize it until very recently, Nextcloud 10 Hub came out. So Nextcloud 31 came out in late February, early March. And I just never updated my stuff until recently. And I was like, holy crap, this is a brand new version and it's really good. So for those of you that like actually use Nextcloud, and it's getting better and better, and the use case for not using Google Docs anymore, that objection is getting lesser and lesser. How good Nextcloud has gotten over the last 2 years. 2 years of really solid development work for this project, guys. So Nextcloud 31 came out. It is my Nuggie of the week, maybe my Nuggie of every week.
He's a Nextcloud nerd, and that is certified. He needs a hat. I updated, I think like 3 or 4 days after it came out. Like, oh, like every time it comes out, like that video or whatever that pops up when you come in it to the first time, like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a Nextcloud update. Cool. Those guys are always hardworking. Hardest working people. Go ahead, Nate.
I will say, Drew, I am planning on next week to install Awesome
Okay.
window manager on Debian.
All right.
I just got to get my that laptop that's over there. I don't know if people can see it, but yeah, it's getting Debian, and I'm going to use your install script because I
appreciate that.
posted
Yeah,
to GitHub,
I did an
so
hour. I did an hour stream on that, and there was like 30 people in the chat and 30 people watching, and then I've had quite a few people after the fact watch it and say how much they have enjoyed using the new config.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Drew is a wizard when it comes to that stuff. Now, if only he could, use Wayland. I can mod her in person. Do it. Come on, man! I want Hyperland script from you. It's coming. It will happen one of these days.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Maybe after they update and it's actually in the repositories.
Yeah.
All right. My Nuggie of the week is actually something for Wayland. So when I was on Xorg, so just kind of to meander towards this thing, I was an Xorg guy for a long time, just like Drew. Qtah was my thing. I also rotated to like i3 every once in a while, but I basically stuck on Xorg. Now I'm knocking on wood here because it feels like Hyperland is finally at a place where it's stable enough for me to use long term. I hope that that's the case and that they don't fuck me over tomorrow. It's always a possibility. You never know. But so far, it's been really stable. So I've been slowly making sure that I have everything that I need here. And the next thing on my list was a clipboard manager. And obviously, something like Xclip or Clip D, something like that. I can't remember the one I was using on Xorg anymore because I've been away for so long. But I needed a new one, and they have one here on Wayland called Clip Hist, and it works awesomely well. It's like you don't even have to like with the one I was using, you had to have like an environment variable in order for it to run on startup and everything. This one here just runs with your auto start file. It's really, really good. It works with both dmenu and Rofi, so whichever one you want to use, and it just keeps track of all of your clipboard history. It will also work with images, so that's cool. I don't think that a lot of these ones don't have timed out available entries. So like if you copy a password on like iOS or Android, after like 15 minutes it will disappear from your history. I don't think that works on this, unfortunately. So if you ever, if you're like a YouTuber and you show your clipboard history on screen, I've done this once, and it has your clipboard history with your passwords in it. Yeah, you just did that. I did do that at one point. So yeah, clip hist is the nuggie of the week for me. So I think that wraps us up. So we are done for today's podcast. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you want to catch us live, we do this live every Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/LinuxCast. So if you want to watch us live and participate in the chat, all those guys are all amazing there, and they have a good time. Usually they're just talking about things alongside of us. Sometimes we catch up with it, sometimes we don't, but we always have a fantastic time. If you can't catch us live, we post the slightly edited version. It's basically the same thing, but without the ums. And that comes to us via Mr. Nate there. He is our de-ummer, if you will. I need to come up with a better name. You need a better title. But anyways, he takes out all the ums and makes it better and makes the audio sound better. Honestly, the one he's going to have the hardest time with today is his own audio, because he was up and down the whole time. But anyways, that comes out Saturday evening, so if you want to catch that edited version, you can do that on the channel or on any podcatcher. If you do watch us or listen to us on a podcatcher that accepts reviews, please leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. So if you're on Pocket Cast, leave us a star rating. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Even if you don't listen to us on Apple Podcasts, but you have an Apple account, go over there, leave us a review. It'd really help us out. We want to be the best Linux podcast, and the only way we can do that is if you guys tell everybody, tell your friends, and that's the best way to do that. So there's all that stuff. If you want to get in contact with us, the best way to do that is email at thelinuxcast.org is the email address. You can find all of our other contact information at thelinuxcast.org/contact. Drew has a YouTube channel. As he was discussing earlier, he does streams now. He's a streamer. The next thing you know, he'll be a gamer with his VR headset. You can find his gaming streams on youtube.com/justtheguylinux. Yeah, he doesn't do gaming. He does Debian and window managers and self-hosting and Nextcloud, all that kind of stuff. Go over there, give him a subscribe. Nate actually has content out, so you go over, check his out. He's Nate Picks Tech World on YouTube, youtube.com/Nate Picks Tech World. He has a growing content library. It's like we're actually YouTubers or something. That Tyler guy just doesn't get it. He just doesn't know how to do it. He knew it at one point. He's forgotten it. Anyways, I'm youtube.com/LinuxCast. Give us all a subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
Put de-ummer on a cat.
Yeah, definitely. See you guys later.